Have you ever wondered how a roaring black motorcycle became an unforgettable hero in cinematic history? Picture this, the hulking Harley-Davidson fat boy roaring into shot, its engine snarling, as Arnold Schwarzenegger emerges in full biker gear in Terminator 2, Judgment Day. This wasn't just a supporting prop. It wasn't just style. It became a character, a symbol. And behind that gleaming chrome and midnight black paint, there are 20 weird facts that reveal how this bike turned from merchandise into myth, from what the actor knew or didn't know, to what the production pulled off, to what fans still don't realize. Every little oddity counts. So if you think you see the movie bike, think again. We're counting down from number 20 all the way to number 1, uncovering weird secrets about Arnold's Fat Boy that even hardcore fans probably missed. Hop on, hit like if you love movie motorbikes, and let's ride into the mechanical underbelly of one of film's most iconic machines. 20. It was a one-year model before the movie hit. The Fat Boy, ridden by the Terminator in T2, is technically a 1991 model, but here's the kicker. The production of the Fat Boy only started in 1990 and made its mass-market debut just before the film. That means the movie used a bike that was essentially brand new, so new that the model was still fresh in the public mind. The timing is weird because most movie vehicles are older or heavily modified, but in this case, the bike was practically off the showroom floor and immediately thrust into blockbuster stardom. It captured lightning in a bottle. The model launches, then the movie uses it, and boom, the bike becomes legendary. Because of that timing, the value of that specific year model of the Fat Boy went up dramatically among collectors. It also meant the production had fewer years of aftermarket modifications to worry about, less prior owner parts, more pure factory. For a bike that was about to be hammered for stunts and chase scenes, choosing a fresh machine is odd, but they did it anyway. The effect, when people now spot a 1991 Fat Boy, they think Terminator bike. 19. Multiple Fat Boys were used, but their fates differ wildly. You'd think the movie used one bike and that was it. Not true. Production acquired several Fat Boys for filming. The article notes that 5 were bought initially for T2, though only 4 are confirmed used. Some were hero bikes for close-ups for Arnold, some stunt bikes for jumps, falls, crashes, and some promotional display bikes. Each bike had a different destiny. One went to auction and sold for around $480,000 in 2018.
Okay, time out. Stop the bike.
Others remain missing, scrapped, or privately held. What's weird, for one of cinema's most iconic bikes, fans still aren't sure exactly how many machines were built, where all of them are, or what exact fate befell each. The fragmentation of their history adds mystery. And it means when you see a Terminator Fat Boy, you have to ask, is this the hero bike Arnold rode? A stunt double bike? A promotional replica? That ambiguity makes every one of them weirdly collectible and weirdly mysterious. 18. Its auction price shattered expectations. Its auction price shattered every expectation ever set for a motorcycle, even one born in the cinematic universe of The Matrix Reloaded. When one of the original T2 Fat Boys went to auction, the whispers in collector circles were cautious. Perhaps it might reach the high hundreds of thousands. But when the hammer finally dropped, the number glowed like something out of a simulation glitch. $480,000. Nearly $500,000 for a motorcycle that once roared across screens in a world between dream and code. That figure sent shockwaves through both Hollywood memorabilia collectors and Ducati loyalists alike. This wasn't just an auction, it was a resurrection. What made it stranger, almost eerie, was the combination of elements that inflated its value. The perfect storm of pop culture myth, 1990s nostalgia, the sacred rarity of the model. Only a handful of screen-correct bikes ever existed, and, of course, the gravitational pull of a cinematic icon, Arnold himself, who once straddled it in steel and leather. Add to that an odometer reading of only 392 miles, and the legend deepens. For a prop that should have been battered, rebuilt, or retired, it was practically untouched, frozen in time, like a frame of film preserved in chrome. The sale didn't just break records, it broke definitions. It proved that a movie motorcycle isn't merely a collector's piece. It's a cultural artifact, an engine of nostalgia that can still accelerate the imagination long after the credits fade. 17. The jump-off wall scene pushed the motorcycle way beyond normal limits. One of the most unforgettable images in Terminator 2. Judgment Day is that heart-stopping moment when the T-800, in full leather and implacable calm, launches the Harley-Davidson Fat Boy off a ledge into the Los Angeles River Basin. It's an explosion of movement and myth. A 700-pound machine hurtling through the air, as if gravity itself had paused to watch. On screen, sparks fly, the suspension groans, and the impact looks punishing, yet somehow perfect. Fans have analyzed that sequence for decades, pointing out that in real-world physics, a steel-framed cruiser of that mass would likely have suffered catastrophic fork bending or frame stress. Yet, in the movie, the bike just roars away, untouched, unstoppable, immortal. What deepens the mystery is that production logs never fully confirm which motorcycle made the leap. Was it the hero bike, a modified stunt twin, or a purpose-built shell designed to look identical for one sacrificial moment? The surviving Fat Boys from production complicate the story even more. One sold at auction with just 392 miles on the odometer, remarkably low for a film vehicle supposedly hammered through multiple takes and chase sequences. Either the restoration was supernatural, or that particular bike barely saw combat. The Fat Boy became not just a motorcycle, but a mythic weapon, half engineering, half legend, forever caught mid-air between reality and Hollywood fantasy. 16. The model name Fat Boy might have a darker meaning. The model name Fat Boy sounds innocent enough, a playful nod to the bike's broad frame, wide tires, and heavy stance. But buried beneath that simple description is a theory that gives the name a much darker, almost haunting dimension. Some motorcycle historians and longtime Harley enthusiasts have circulated an eerie piece of lore. That Fat Boy is a coded reference to the atomic bombs dropped on Japan during World War II, Fat Man, and Little Boy. Whether it's historical fact or persistent myth is uncertain, yet the symbolism is impossible to ignore. The idea that a proudly American machine, born from steel, freedom, and rebellion, might carry the ghost of wartime destruction in its name gives the bike a strange, almost poetic tension. That's what makes it so weirdly fitting. The same motorcycle that stormed across the screen in Terminator 2, a movie about Judgment Day and mankind's struggle against its own machines, might also carry a name echoing the end of another kind of world. Coincidence or not, the alignment of imagery is chilling. A weapon of war, a symbol of dominance, a name that hides both pride and devastation in its syllables. Harley-Davidson has never officially confirmed that theory, and most likely never will, but the rumor refuses to die. It clings to the bike like an invisible layer of cultural history. 15. The black and red livery was chosen for dramatic effect. When the Harley-Davidson Fat Boy in Terminator 2, Judgment Day rolls into the biker bar scene, its matte black body with subtle red pinstriping isn't just a styling choice. It was deliberately selected by the production design team for maximum visual impact. According to one feature, the black finish helped the bike stand out under harsh set lighting and matched the menacing persona of Arnold Schwarzenegger's T-800 character. To reinforce that cinematic, bad-to-the-bone vibe, the red pinstripe contrasted sharply against the black, catching reflections and emphasizing motion in fast cuts and chase sequences. What's weird is that real Fat Boys of the era had a variety of colors, chrome finishes, and glossier treatments. But the film version deliberately goes leaner, darker, more foreboding. This design choice influenced hot rod fans and replica builders who wanted the Terminator look, pushing custom Fat Boys toward black-on-black themes with red highlights. You're seeing a piece of film design that reshaped real-world motorcycle aesthetics. 14. 382SLTSTS 91 Fatboy name trick in the HUD display. In one of the most subtle Easter eggs of the film, the T800's heads-up display lists the bike as a 382SLSTS 91 Fatboy, even though the actual on-screen machine is the 1991 Fatboy, model code FLSTF, and not one of the SLSTS variants. That discrepancy is weird because it means the on-screen reference is technically inaccurate, but intentionally so. The film's tech department likely faked the model name to avoid trademark confusion or licensing issues, or simply as a styling device for the HUD. Meanwhile, the bike they used was a bona fide 1991 Fatboy, released by Harley-Davidson in 1990 ahead of the film. This odd mismatch has become a talking point among enthusiasts. One part of the bike's screen presence is fictional specification, while the other part is real machine. It contributes to the mystique of the movie bike by creating a hybrid identity, half real-world machine, half cinematic device. For collectors of replica bikes, that confusion adds a layer of complexity. Do you replicate the HUD designation, or do you replicate the actual bike used? Either route pays homage to the weird crossover between movie prop and mechanical reality. 13. The bike's jump scene was partly faked and partly fully real. That memorable jump off the ledge into the riverbed during the chase in Terminator 2 looks effortless, but the reality behind it is strange. The production didn't rely only on practical stunt riding. For certain angles, they used wire rigs, hidden ramps, camera tricks, and shock absorbers in customized bikes to make the jump seem smoother than physics ordinarily allows. Yet, at the same time, they still used actual Fatboys for parts of the sequence, meaning the bike took real impact, real stress, and yet survived relatively unscathed. The odd thing, one hero bike reportedly accumulated just 392 miles when sold at auction, which implies extremely light use for a stunt machine. So the bike that looks like it's been through hell on screen may have actually been treated quite gently behind the scenes. That dual reality, heavy stunt aesthetics versus low actual miles, adds a weird layer to the legend of the machine. Already a star, but also surprisingly well preserved. 12. The Fatboy specs were twisted to fit the on-screen persona. Do you know that the 1991 Harley-Davidson Fatboy was never meant to be a stunt machine? It was designed as a heavyweight cruiser, the kind of bike that ruled the highway with attitude, not agility. Under its broad steel frame beat a 1,338 cubic centimeters, 81 cubic inch V-twin engine paired with a 5-speed transmission, pushing roughly 657 pounds of curb weight down the road. It was muscle, not lightning. Yet, when the cameras rolled for Terminator 2, Judgment Day, the Fatboy became something else entirely. A weapon of precision, a machine that could jump, slide, and chase without hesitation. That transformation is part of what makes its screen legacy so strange. In the real world, the Fatboy was a road king. In the movie, it was a superbike disguised as a tank. To achieve that illusion, the production team quietly broke the laws of physics. They modified the exhaust for better throttle response, tweaked the carburetor for snappier acceleration, and in some shots, even used lighter stunt versions built from hollowed frames. The sound mix added its own alchemy. Those thunderous roars you hear weren't always the stock Harley note, but layered audio designed to make the engine sound almost supernatural. It wasn't just a motorcycle, it was an extension of the Terminator himself. Unstoppable, cold, perfect. And that illusion stuck. Decades later, fans still imagine the Fatboy as faster and tougher than it really was. On paper, it's a cruiser. On screen, it's a myth. The difference between the two isn't engineering, it's cinema's ability to rewrite reality in chrome and gasoline. 11. The preservation and auction fate of the bikes diverge significantly. It's known that multiple Fat Boys were used in Terminator 2, some for hero shots, some for stunts. Here's the weird part. One of those bikes sold at auction in 2018 for $480,000 US, far exceeding its estimate of $200,000 to $300,000. Even more odd, despite the massive value, the condition was surprisingly low mileage, 392 miles, and the bike had seemingly minimal wear. It suggests that the true stunt bike usage may have been more limited than fans imagine, or that the bike underwent extensive restoration before sale. Moreover, the location or fate of the other Fat Boys remains murky. Some presumed destroyed, some privately held, some possibly in museum storage. That fragmentation drives speculation. Which one did Arnold actually ride? Which one made the jump? Is my replica based on one of the originals or a later copy? This ambiguity elevates the bike from movie prop to collectible mystery, making each surviving Fat Boy a piece of mechanical folklore. It's weird to think a bike built for a movie can spawn such intrigue, and the real-life history is only partially documented, leaving room for legend. 10. The police chase scene used a hydraulic tow rig. That iconic storm drain chase, when the T-800 barrels down into the LA River while the semi roars behind, is one of the greatest action sequences in movie history. But here's the weird twist. Most of those shots weren't filmed with Arnold actually riding at speed. The production team rigged a hydraulic tow platform that pulled the Harley along at 40 to 50 miles per hour, while cameras mounted around it captured realistic movement. This let Arnold focus on posture and acting, not throttle control, while keeping the bike upright across uneven concrete. For wide shots, stuntman Peter Kent took over and rode the Fat Boy independently, performing the actual jumps. The tow rig gave the illusion of raw power without risking the star or the $20,000 bike. You can spot subtle clues in the footage, like the missing front brake lever, to indicate a rig connection. It's a genius mix of Hollywood magic and mechanical precision that preserved the illusion of speed, turning an otherwise heavy cruiser into a cinematic missile. 9. The Harley's sound was layered with gunfire and jet audio. Think the roar of Arnold's Fat Boy in T2 was pure Harley thunder? Not even close. Sound designer Gary Rydstrom built that menacing audio by mixing real Harley engine recordings with gunfire echoes, shotgun shells dropping, and even bits of jet turbine whoosh to emphasize torque and menace. The result wasn't realistic, but it felt right for a cyborg. The blend gave the bike a metallic snarl that matched the T-800's character, something organic yet mechanical. According to Rydstrom, they even added subtle reverb tails from shotgun blanks recorded in a concrete tunnel to simulate engine resonance under bridges. 8. Arnold personally practiced the iconic shotgun reload move. That one-handed spin-cock reload with the Winchester lever-action shotgun while riding the Harley wasn't CGI or trick editing. It was pure practice. Arnold trained for weeks with a prop gun that had a widened loop to accommodate his gloved hand. The weird part? The first time he tried the spin reload on the real Fat Boy, the gun's inertia nearly broke his finger when the lever snapped closed. From then on, they built lighter dummy shotguns for riding scenes. The shot is now so iconic that Harley enthusiasts often recreate it during shows, but most don't realize it was extremely dangerous to attempt at speed. The choreography team filmed close-ups separately on a stationary bike rig and studio lighting for safety. This combo of movie realism and pure recklessness immortalized one of cinema's greatest biker moves, proof that the Fat Boy wasn't just transport, it was part of the T-800's character arsenal. 7. James Cameron chose the Fat Boy because of its name. Out of every Harley model available in 1990, Cameron picked the brand new Fat Boy, and the reason is weirder than you'd expect. The name Fat Boy itself resonated with Cameron's tongue-in-cheek sense of irony, a massive killing machine riding something called Fat Boy. But there's an urban legend twist. Many fans claim Harley named it as a mashup of Fat Man and Little Boy, the two atomic bombs dropped in World War II. While Harley never officially confirmed this, the timing and naming pattern fit eerily well. The motorcycle's silver wheels, gray paint, and blocky styling gave it a bomber look Cameron loved. For him, the Fat Boy symbolized industrial power, an unstoppable machine piloted by another unstoppable machine. That thematic symmetry sealed its cinematic destiny, a cold steel warrior riding a cold steel weapon. 6. The studio bought multiple Fat Boys. Then Harley asked for them back. Before filming began, Carolco Pictures purchased several brand new 1991 Fat Boys directly from Harley-Davidson for around $13,000 each, an enormous outlay at the time for background vehicles. But after T2 became a worldwide hit, Harley wanted their bikes back for museum display and marketing. Some were returned, refurbished, and toured with the Ride of the Future campaign in the early 1990s. Others were kept or sold by the studio. The weirdest twist. Harley later reissued the Terminator 2 edition Fat Boy in 2017, using the original film bike as design inspiration, complete with brushed steel finish and blacked-out detailing. It blurred the line between movie prop and production model, turning fiction back into real-world metal. Essentially, the movie created a demand so strong that Harley retro-engineered its own legend. 5. The LA River Jump was practically impossible. That jaw-dropping moment when the T-800 launches the Fat Boy off the ledge into the Los Angeles River is one of the most famous stunts in film history, and also one of the most impossible. The real Harley weighed nearly 700 pounds, far too heavy to survive a jump like that without folding its suspension or snapping the frame. To pull it off, the stunt team built a hidden ramp under the camera frame and attached cables to lift the bike mid-air during the drop. The jumping Harley was actually mounted to a specially designed dolly system that ran along steel rails hidden behind the concrete. When it hit the ground, the real bike was swapped in for landing close-ups. Despite the heavy editing, one frame still shows the suspension bottoming out violently, proof of how close it came to total destruction. The shot was so convincing that decades later, stunt writers still debate whether a stock Fat Boy could survive it. The answer? Not a chance. 4. The bike was so heavy, Arnold could barely handle it. The Harley Fat Boy's cinematic power came with a serious drawback. It was nearly too much motorcycle for the actor. The real bike weighed about 673 pounds dry, close to 700 with fuel and props. Arnold Schwarzenegger, despite his bodybuilder frame, struggled with slow speed balance during early takes. To make it rideable, the crew secretly lowered tire pressure and modified the clutch spring tension to ease shifting. Stuntman Peter Kent confirmed in interviews that the clutch pull was so stiff it caused hand cramps after multiple takes. For dialogue scenes, Arnold's Fat Boy was mounted on a dolly rig that simulated slow forward motion, reducing the risk of dropping it between lines. You can spot it in the bar exit scene. The background barely moves while the bike idles. 3. A runaway semi destroyed one Fat Boy. Most fans assume that every Terminator 2 Fat Boy survived production, that the legendary bikes simply rode off into cinematic history unscathed. But the truth is far messier and far more tragic. At least one of those machines met a fate worthy of its own action scene. During a retake of the Los Angeles River chase, a mistimed cue sent the massive semi-truck used in the sequence barreling forward too early. The truck's chrome bumper clipped the rear of one of the stunt Harleys with devastating precision. In an instant, 700 pounds of polished steel and engineering grace turned into a grinding avalanche of sparks and shrapnel. The Fat Boy skidded along the canal's concrete embankment, its frame twisting like ribbon, its fuel tank splitting open as the stunt crew scrambled to safety. According to stunt coordinators, the crew worked through the night, cannibalizing parts from secondary units to rebuild the wreck so filming could resume by dawn. The original bike's VIN later surfaced in studio archives, confirming it had been written off after the accident and sent to a North Hollywood prop yard. 2. Harley's sales exploded 400% after the movie. Before Terminator 2, Harley-Davidson was fighting a rough image problem. Their customer base was aging, and Japanese imports were dominating sales. Then T2 hit theaters, and everything changed overnight. Within 6 months of the film's release, Harley reported a 400% spike in Fatboy inquiries and deposits at dealerships worldwide. People didn't just want a Harley. They wanted that Harley, chrome, black leather, shotgun scabbard, and all. Dealerships even hung movie posters next to floor models, labeling them the Terminator bike.
Everybody wants to get to the top, but not everybody can get there. Sometimes you need that extra oomph to put you there.
Harley suddenly became cool again, not just for bikers, but for moviegoers. To this day, the T2 Fatboy is considered one of the most effective pieces of product placement in Hollywood history, responsible for resurrecting Harley's image in the 1990s. 1. The original screen bike survived. Here's the craziest fact of all. The actual screen-used Harley Fatboy from Terminator 2 still exists, and it's worth more than most supercars. In 2018, Profiles in History auctioned one of the 2 surviving hero bikes from the film, complete with verified studio documentation and wear marks matching scenes from the LA River Chase. It sold for a staggering $480,000, making it one of the most expensive movie motorcycles ever auctioned.
Adventures, that's what this movie was about. When everyone was against, they were distrusting the government.
The bike now rests in a climate-controlled collection alongside other Hollywood icons like the Batpod and the Light Cycle from Tron Legacy. Every scratch, dent, and custom bracket tells a story of raw, analog filmmaking. No CGI, no digital doubles, just steel, sweat, and noise. The auction catalog even notes residue from the tow rig mounts under the frame, proof of its starring role. Over 30 years later, that same machine still roars at private events, reminding everyone that when you build something unstoppable, it never truly dies. Started as just another product placement, became one of the most powerful symbols in cinema, the moment when a machine and a man shared the same soul of rebellion. That Harley wasn't just transportation, it was storytelling in metal. From the impossible LA river jump to the mythic sound design that roared like gunfire, every bolt, scrape, and gear shift helped redefine what a motorcycle could mean on screen. And here's the truth that makes it timeless. 3 decades later, that same Fatboy still stands as a fusion of engineering and emotion, proof that even machines can become immortal when paired with the right story. Because the Terminator's Harley may have been built for Judgment Day, but it was made to live forever.